Hey guys, Toast here. While I'll continue to provide Battlefield 1 content on a consistent basis, I'd also like to branch out into other games to provide you with more variety in content and make this a more well-rounded channel. In light of this, today I'd like to take a step back from Battlefield 1 and talk about Star Wars Battlefront, which was released in 2015, and what DICE can do to improve upon and learn from the launch of that game to help them better improve the launch of their upcoming Battlefront sequel. For those of you who may be unaware, DICE has confirmed that they're developing a sequel to their 2015 Star Wars game that's slated for release in November of 2017. In light of this, let's take a look back at the launch of Battlefront and discuss the issues that the game had and what DICE can do to improve on those issues to really create an amazing experience with their next big FPS release. Star Wars provides a universe with a massive amount of history, lore, culture, and depth that's rivaled by few other franchises. While I'm not going to sit here and say that I think it's easy to create a single-player campaign for a game in the Star Wars universe, the resources in terms of information, setting, and backstory are all there for developers to take advantage of. I feel, and I know that many probably agree with me, that DICE really missed a golden opportunity here to create a compelling campaign to accompany their multiplayer component. As a huge fan of past Star Wars games, including the likes of Knights of the Old Republic for Xbox 360, Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace for the original PlayStation, and Star Wars Shadows of the Empire for Nintendo 64, I've experienced what it's like when developers really delve into the universe and make use of the rich lore available to them. Combined with DICE's ability to create very mechanically competent games, I believe that they have the capability to create something truly memorable. Thankfully, DICE has indeed listened to the concern regarding this and have said that there will be a campaign in the upcoming sequel. While DICE certainly received some acclaim for creating a game that was visually stunning and atmospherically accurate to the universe, one of the biggest critiques that they received for Star Wars Battlefront was the clear lack of multiplayer maps available upon launch. Now, more than a year after the game's launch, there are certainly more maps for players to enjoy, but the lack of map variety when the game actually released, as well as for those players who haven't purchased Premium for this game, actually makes a big dent in the player population. Because there was no single player to turn to and only a small number of maps available for the co-op mode, multiplayer was the primary focus of the game. It's one thing to have a fully fleshed out campaign and a multiplayer component with only a few maps, but it's another thing entirely to create a primarily multiplayer game and have this component be lacking variety. I really do hope that DICE learns from this and provides at least 9 or 10 full maps that can be played in a variety of game modes. An interesting choice made by DICE in Battlefront was the inclusion of only game modes offering player counts of 12 up to 40. Because Battlefield is their other major first-person shooter franchise and arguably what they're most well known for, it was less of a request and more of an expectation that Battlefront was going to offer 64-player game modes because this is what DICE's fanbase has become accustomed to. While 40 players is still larger than modes offered in other franchises like Call of Duty or Halo, it felt like an unnecessary downgrade to a DICE game. The maps themselves are certainly Battlefield-sized and capable of hosting more players, and because the game only has a partner system, not a larger, more fleshed-out squad-based system, the only real requirement would be an even number of players on each team so that each person could have a potential partner. I would chalk it up to an engine issue if it weren't for the fact that DICE had already proven that they could create 64-player game modes on both PC and current-generation consoles with Battlefield 4 using an even earlier iteration of the Frostbite engine. Now, it's entirely possible that some of you might disagree with me on this, but I feel that the battle pickup system in Battlefront offered an unnecessarily strong advantage to whomever received them. Of course, there were some pickups like shields or turrets or card refreshes that were not overpowered and added some nice strategy to the game, but there were plenty of other things like thermal imploders, orbital strikes, and particularly hero pickups that gave players a distinct advantage for doing nothing more than being in a certain area when they became available. In particular, I want to focus on the heroes, as this gave the receiving player one-hit kill potential with some of the heroes, vastly improved health, vastly improved movement ability, and more attack variety at their disposal. For instance, look at this clip of me getting killed within seconds of spawning 3 different times to the exact same person. To me, this is just unbalanced, as often there's no reliable way to counter this. I think the method used in Battlefield 1 is better with the elite class pickups, because at least you have the potential to counter them if you're either able to hit them with a bayonet charge or manage to get behind them and melee them. To me, this is better balance because it provides the player with an improved strength of the class, while still giving enemies the opportunity to take the player down reasonably quickly if they're smart about it. This is more focused on the card system progression than the weapon progression, but one mistake that I feel can be made with multiplayer progression that I feel that DICE unfortunately made with Battlefront is to provide players increasingly more powerful gadgets to equip as they proceed to level up. A level playing field is ultimately what encourages new players to get into the game, and when they feel like they may be at a distinct disadvantage because they haven't yet received a certain item because it's level locked, then the game can quickly become frustrating. A few examples that come to mind right off the bat are the Jump Pack, which provides you with vastly increased mobility and allows you to either initiate or escape an engagement that you otherwise might not be able to do, which isn't unlocked until level 16, the Personal Shield, which quite literally makes you immune to certain amounts of incoming damage except for melee, which isn't unlocked until level 18, and the Trait Cards, which provide small but notable advantages over other players, which your first trait card isn't unlocked until level 15. While I've played since launch on the PlayStation 4 version and have many of the unlocks there, I've recently purchased the PC version and find myself at a distinct disadvantage against players who've put more time into the game simply because they've put more time into the game. Progression, in my opinion, should provide players with competitive options from the beginning, and then as you progress, you gain access to items that are perhaps more difficult to use, but have the potential to provide a higher reward when used properly. But with all that said, I want to know what you think DICE should improve in this upcoming sequel based on what they did with their 2015 Battlefront game. Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more content, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Toast, and I'll talk to you soon.